So here I'll be starting today's session. So when we look at the syllabus, this is where I recapitulated yesterday. And today I'll be, as I said, I'll be starting with data types, variables and arrays in this particular class. These windows are appearing here. How to remove these windows? So these are all the participants, right? How can I remove this? Naveen, do you know how to remove this? Because this is obstruction to me, right? It is causing abstraction to me. How can I remove this part? Naveen,
So we cannot see it, sir. Only the host can see. Only you can see it, sir.
these options, right? Only I can see.
Only you can see it, sir.
But because when I start showing you something like this, so it will be. How can I remove that? Because you cannot see the whole screen, right? All the students cannot see whole screen.
No, sir. They can see the whole screen, sir.
But for me, it is difficult. No, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, sir. You drag the tab and make it somewhere down, sir.
Okay, now it's fine. Again, it is coming horizontally now. Okay, down. So I'll start as I said. I had told already. I'll be starting with this data type sign, other tokens. Right. This is the place where we are. I'm covering this part. These are the necessary. So this part is very similar to C and C++, what already we have studied. So the data types in C are almost all similar here also. So like how we study these all the primitive data types, byte, short, int, long. So all are also available in this. So very first different type what we study in Java is a Boolean data type. So like how we have truth value 1 for true, truth value 0 for false. In Java, the Boolean variables will carry two truth values. One is true and the one is false. So true indicates word true only and false is word false for false in Java. So this is the sample program which will demonstrate the execution of Boolean data variable, how the Boolean data variable will be used. So this all explanation I'll directly take with an example program. That is, so wait, I'm here in JDK. I should go to the bin directory. Then I will open the program called booltest.java. Right. So is it audible clearly to all of you? On behalf of students, Naveen, can you respond? Is it audible? Yes, it is audible, right? I think Naveen can speak no in between. Why your speak loudly means okay, now is it audible? Because I have sufficient network. So if you are not able to get something, please come out. I am sitting on the terrace for better network coverage. So please come to the place where you get proper network. Your Naveen's mic is unmuted.
Yes, sir.
Right. So please concentrate. So this is the Java program which demonstrates the usage of Boolean data type. So bool test is the name of the class what I have taken. and within this class all the statements are written. So in the main function, we are first declaring a variable called b of type boolean data type. So boolean variables can have only two possible values in Java, that is either they are true or false. We can assign either a value true or false in words itself. So for this boolean data type, first I am assigning a value of false. That means now the boolean b is having a value false associated with it. In the next statement, I am printing the content of that. What is that? B is append the present value of b. So in the previous statement, b is having a value of false. So what it will print here is b is false. So it will be printing b is false. Then again I am assigning true to that. So parallelly I will keep the output here, output file open, so that you can see, right? Let this chart go down here. So this is what we are actually studying, this portion if you can see. So for this b here, first I have assigned false to that. First I have assigned false to b and I am trying to print. So b is, the value of b will be appended here, that is false. So what I will get, the very first line, b is false. So b is false. So then I am assigning again true to b. Naveen, in case any difficulties which I should solve really, then only you speak, Naveen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because some are telling that earphone use, they are, it's not audible, so because they have not used earphone, I think. Okay, then I am assigning true to b. So again we are printing b is append the value. Now the value of b will get changed from false to true. So the second statement what will get printed in the output is b is true, because I have assigned true here. So this shows that the boolean data type can take only two possible values, either true or false. Then the boolean type can also be used for checking the condition within an if statement. Like it can also be used within the control statement. So when we check this particular condition, if b, the truth value of b here is, the very recent value here is true. So this whole condition becomes true, then this statement will be printed. So that is, this is executed. So this is the third statement in the output. So this is the output what I am showing you parallelly here. Now after printing this statement, next we are assigning the truth value false to the b. So we are assigning truth value false to b. So again this condition will be checked. So the outcome of this will be false. Why? Because now b is having a truth value of false. So this whole thing will become false. So once the if condition is false, we know that the statements within the if statement will not execute. Now the statements within the if statement is, there is only one statement, so this one. So this will not get executed because the truth value is false. So this statement will not get printed in the output. So next what we can do here is, these conditional expressions can also be tested in Java to get the truth value, either true or false. So what happens here is, directly we are printing in this statement. So 10 is greater than 10 greater than 9 is. So this will be displayed as it is on the screen. Then the outcome of this will be appended at the end. So what is the outcome of this? We know that 10 is greater than 9, that is true. So outcome is true. So ultimately what will be the output in this line? 10 greater than 9 is true. So this is what is the output that we have got. So 10 greater than 9 is true. So this is the output of very first output of this Boolean Java program. What I'll do, I'll try to give the demonstration whether we get the expected output or not. Java C So name of the program will test.java. So once the compilation is successful, we'll get the bytecode which will be given for the interpreter Java bool test, then enter. So if you can see here, right? So this was the output during the explanation, and we have got the same output. What is that? B is false, B is true, then this is executed. As I said, this part will not get executed. This is not executed. Why? Because truth value is false here. So this part will not get executed. And the next statement here is 10 greater than 9 is true. So this was the output of this particular program. So now for better explanation purpose, I'll take one more example program for same boolean data type, boolean test1.java. So this is another program, another modified program which I have taken. So I think I had told all of you to make keep pen and book with you. Just trace this program and try writing 4 lines of outputs, and you can send back the output to me in the chat session here. So take a few seconds or 1 minute of time and try to write output of this. I have made little modifications to this program, like what output it will give. Try to write output of this. It's a very simple one. You can write in few seconds. No, don't write a line by line, Rahul. Everything you type somewhere, preferably it will be good if you are using either laptop or desktop, not the mobile, because through mobile interactive session may not be proper. So hope what I'll do first, I have assigned the truth value true to that, then it will print like B is true. So here I have, hope some of you have written, you just cross verify it. When I with this output you cross verify. If you have written in your book, you just cross verify. For this program, this is the output. B is true, then B is false, this is not executed, then 10 greater than 9 is false. So here it is giving false. Why? Because based on these truth values. So I'll just go through the tracing part of the program. For this boolean variable B, first we are assigning a truth value true. So now here B is true. So what it will print here is B is true. So this is the first line. It is printing first line, B is true. Then for that truth value we are assigning false. So B will get a value of false. So next output will be B is false. So this is the next statement, that is B is false. Now, as we know, the truth condition, if the truth condition is true in the if statement, the corresponding statement will be executed. Now the truth value of B is false here. A very recent value is false. The whole condition, whole outcome of this expression will be false. So when if is false, this will not execute. This will not get executed. Now for this B in the next statement, I am assigning the truth value as true. Now the content of B is true. So check this if condition now. If true, so the outcome of this entire thing is true. So when it is true, then what happens here? This statement will be executed. So what this statement says, this is not executed. So this particular statement, whatever is present in the double quote, that will be printed as it is. So this is what is the next line. This is not executed will be printed onto the screen. Then the very next statement here is, I am again using this in a conditional expression. So this will be printed as it is, 10 greater than 9 is. So don't worry about this part, because this is whatever we have given in the double quote, that will be displayed as it is on the screen. So 10 greater than 9 is, this expression will be evaluated for its truth value. So 10 is greater than 20, it is false. So what will be the output here is 10 greater than 9 is false. So 10 greater than 9 is false, even though it is true. So we will get the output here as false. Why? Because print I am giving something else and expression I am giving something else. So 10 greater than 9 will be displayed as it is, but in the expression I am giving values as 10 greater than 20. So 10 is not greater than 20 and the truth value will be false. Shall I continue with the next part?
Yes, sir.
What about Soumya? Soumya is not speaking. Is she online? Some are not able to get the voice, I feel. Anjali, not audible. Probably they don't have proper device. Okay, I'll give the demonstration of this program. Second one, that is tool test 1.java, Microsoft interpreter. Okay. So you can see this was the output what we expected. So B is true. We expected output to be as B is true, then B is false. So B is true, B is false. This is not executed. 10 greater than 9 is false. So ultimately what we have to know with this series, the Boolean type will have two words as result. Either it is true or it is false. So I'll go with the next type, next content. The primitive types, as this is already known to you, this I'll be not repeating because byte will take 8 bits, short again 16 bits. In Java, integer is assumed as 32 bits, long is assumed as 64 bits. As a result, floating point data types are used to store decimal values with fractional to store fractional values. We use floating point data types. So the different data type in OOC is character data type. So like how character is single character in C and C++, but character is something like Unicode in Java. So we refer to the term called Unicode if when you talk about characters. In C and C++, character is 8 bits, but in Java it is 16-bit wide. Why? Because it is containing the special characters for each and every character what we speak in all the languages, like such as Latin, Greek, etc. So for every character in all the languages, there is one independent symbol. So that is represented with the help of Unicode. So that's why in Java, character data type will take 16-bit because more space is required for representing each and every special character in all the languages. So this is 16-bit wide. So this is the sample program for demonstrating how the character type is in OOC. What I will do here is I'll open the character demo.java. Rahul, can you speak now?
Yes, sir.
Is the voice is audible, my voice?
Yes, sir. It is audible.
Because some are writing here not audible. Zamir is
Sir, it
telling not
might be
audible.
network problem.
Not problem from my side, right?
Not
No, sir.
problem from your side.
But I am cross verifying by unmuting few students, right? Not problem from this side. Okay, so this is
No problem. No problem.
okay. I hope all of you can see this properly. So these are the import statements as usual. Name of the class here is character demo. In the main, we have written few statements for demonstration of character type in Java. The two variables are declared with the name ch1 and ch2. of type character, right? For ch1 we are assigning simply a number, so 88, that is 88 is Unicode value for x in Java. So 88 represents x, then this y written within single quote represents y. That means two ways for representing a character. If you write 88, that represents x, or in number 89 represents y, and single quote y also represents y. So when you just print this ch1, this statement will be printed as it is. So here I am using print. So I am taking this specific example once again to explain the difference between print and println. So ch1 and ch2 will be printed as it is. I'll open the output file parallelly so that you can feel, right? So this is what output what we get, ch1 and ch2. This is the print statement, not println. So what print causes, after displaying the output, the cursor will be blinking on the same line. So ch1 and ch2 colon will be printed, and the next output will be continuing from this place itself. So what is the next executable statement? ch1, take the value in ch1. So what we have assigned to ch1, we have assigned 88, but that is actually the Unicode value of the x. So what will get printed here is x, some space, and then y. So this is what is the possible output. ch1 and ch2, x space y is the output. So Unicode, like how we call ASCII values in C, so in OOC or in Java it is called as a Unicode. So let us check whether we are getting this expected output or not for this program. So what I'll do, I'll simply compile character demo, right, in case of interpreter, right, ch1 and ch2 space will get x and y as the output. Now for differentiating between this print and println, I have taken one more program. So character demo 1.java. So this is the same, this was the same program which is modified now. Right? So when you look at this, I have used here remaining everything is same. So this everything is same, but only little change I have made here. What is that? In place of print, I have used println. So what println causes, it will cause the cursor to go to the next line. So it will cause cursor to go to the next line, and the next content will be printed. So for better understanding of these two statements, I have taken this simple example. So what I will do, character demo 1, I am compiling now. Character Java C program is being compiled. Char demo 1, Java name of the source file I given. This compilation is successful. View to interpreter char demo 1. So if I give something char demo, then also I will get some output. Why? Because it is the bytecode of previous compiled program. So when I give char demo also, then also it is fine. We will get output of previous program. So I want output of this program. I'll give char demo 1. So what output I'll get here is ch1 and ch2 in first line, x and y is going to next line. So when you see here, this was the first output of the first program. ch1 and ch2, x and y were printed on the same line because we use print there. And now here I am using println. So what it causes, after this statement, after printing this, the next output will be printed in the next line. So this is printed by the first println, and this is printed by the second println. So this, I hope this makes clear sense of the difference between print and println. Right. So what I will do, I will go with the next part. I'll close this. I hope if you have read it properly, then you can understand the things easily. So arrays are same in OOC, but the difference here is defining arrays. So as we all know, it is a collection of elements of same data type, either integer array. If you are declaring integer array, every element must be of type integer. So when we in the beginning we'll be starting with one dimensional array, but declaring and defining an array in OOC will take two steps. So in the first step, we have to define the variable, that is name of the variable. Then for that variable, we have to assign the memory. We have to allocate the memory. So it will take two steps. So this is the first step. So what I am doing with this step here is I am declaring an integer type of array with the name month days. With the name month days. So for this, we have not yet given the size. For this, we have not yet given the size. Here, to link month days with an actual physical memory, physical array, we must allocate the memory using new. So new and delete are the two operators in OOC. New is used for allocation of memory and delete for removing. So for this month days array, what we have declared here, see here, array variable, and this is generic type, any variable name, specifically for month days I am taking. For month days array variable, allocate new memory of type integer which can take 12 elements or which can hold 12 different elements of type integer. So basically what this statement indicates here is we are allocating memory of type integer of size 12. That means 12 integers can be stored into what variable? To month days array variable. So this array variable must be declared in the beginning. So here we have declared, and for that we are allocating memory. So it can, because in the year we will be having 12 months, so we are assuming it as 12. So and accessing array elements is same, like with the help of index value. We have to use name of the array, and within the square bracket we have to specify the index value, which actual index you want to access. So this is one sample example, like whatever two statements you have written, statement 1 and statement 2, these two can be combined into a single statement. That is also possible. So with this, what I am doing, declaring month days as an array variable, then allocate new memory of size 12 of type integer. So these two statements can be combined into a single statement. Now for that month days, we are allocating, you can initialize the array with by specifying values within the brace. Multi-dimensional array is same like how we use for the matrix. First, I'll give demonstration for this one-dimensional array. So for that one-dimensional array, I'll take one program, that is array.java. I hope you can see the program array.java. So these are the import statements as usual. This will just demonstrate how can we access the array elements in Java. So array is being created, or I'm declaring array with the name called month days, and for that month days I am allocating memory with the new operator of size 12. Right, this will allocate the physical memory, whereas this will declare only name of the array. Here you can use any other name also, but allocation of memory is must. Now for every month exclusively we are allocating, we are giving some initial values. Two ways, either if you want you can give individually or you can specify like this also. So these are the two ways of initializing arrays. So in this way what we are doing, month days we are, that is first month we are giving value of 31, that is whatever days are there in the month, whatever number of days are there, those days we are assigning to array indices. And we have only one print statement. So what it prints here is April has. This will be printed as it is. Then append the content of this. So what is the content we'll get here is month days of 3. So what is the third index here? Third index is 30. So what I will get? April has 30 days will be printed. So the output for this program is April has 30 days. Right? You can see here array.java, the output of this program is April has 30 days. So this is how we get the output, because I'm trying to just access one index here. So I'll compile and show the output, right? Java array. So what output we have got? Expected. So this is the output what we are expecting. April has 30 days, and this the same output we have got. April has 30 days. Anyone has any issues at this time? You can tell in the chat. Should I increase the speed or decrease the speed, or is it okay? Naveen, voice is clear, right? Is it audible?
So
Naveen,
voice is audible, sir.
voice is clear, right? And
Yes, sir.
Rahul,
It is audible, sir.
audible, right? Good. And what about others? You can just send a response in the chat. Zamir told that it is audible. It's okay. You are following with this pace, right? You're following. Yes. Good. So I'll give one short assignment. Hope you will be able to do this. Array1.java. So please, the same program I have modified. If you have book and pen there, try writing output of this. Here is the output which I'll show after you take 1 minute or 30 seconds time. The same program is there. Only output of these statements you should write. So try writing. After 30 seconds, I'll show the demonstration. After 30 seconds or 1 minute. Write the output of this. I told you to keep pen and book with you for this purpose only. Because this write the output of this. I'll show the demonstration, then you just cross verify. You here what is happening here is April has something will get printed and again days. Again January has it will print something and days. You don't go as per this months, because I have tested the program here. I have unmuted Soumya also. You can
Yes, sir.
feedback. Voice is audible, right, Soumya?
Yes, sir.
Good. Yes, I'll show the demonstration. This is what is the expected output. So what the expected output for this year is April has 30 days, January has 30 days, December has 28 days. Here this print statement is something which will get printed as it is. But the actual values what we get is from this. April is taking from something this index, that is month days of 5. So what is present in month days of 5? 30. So 30 will be printed. April has 30 days. Next year is I will get output as January has. So but I am printing January, but I am taking the value of index 10. I am taking the value of index 10. I am taking the value of index 10. That is January has 10. So what is present in index 10? Index 10 has 30. So what it will print? Even though actually January has 31 days, but I am taking from this index. So January has 31 days. January has 30 days. Output will be January has 30 days. Then December has, actually December here it is having 31 days. But which index I am trying to refer here? Month days of 1. So month days of 1 is having a value of 28. So what I will get output? December has 28 days. December has 28 days. So this is what is the expected output. So this is the expected output of the program. I'll compile it. Java C array1 dot Java give it to interpreter. Right now I am getting this error. Can anyone tell the reason for this? I just want to check how much you are following. If you know the answer for this, unmute yourself and tell the answer. To make it interactively, I have purposefully made this mistake. Why I am getting this error? Unmute yourself. Can they unmute themselves, Naveen?
No, sir, we can't unmute.
You can't unmute.
No, sir.
Then they can tell the answer in the chat itself.
Yes, sir.
So those who know the answer for this, reply in the chat. Why it is giving error? No responses. It is telling something. You see the program, then you will be knowing.
Sir, program name is array1.
Yeah, name of the source file what I have given here is array1.java. Name of the class which is containing main is array. Please
Yes.
concentrate here. I had explained it in the regular class. We know that the condition is name of the source file and name of the class must be same for our understanding purpose, but it need not be true always. You just have to give to the interpreter the name of the class which is containing main function. Now in this entire source file, the name of the class which is containing main function is array. So this class name I should give for the interpreter. So when I give this class name, I'll run it again. What? Which class is containing? Not array1. Name of the class here is array itself. So what I'll do, I'll change it to array. You can see here in the output screen. I should change it to array. So just enter. So now you'll get the output. So this error was because I was giving name as array1, but there is no bytecode with the name called array1. But actually the bytecode is created with the name called array. So once I gave array here in this command, Java array, then I got the output. So what was the expecting? What output we were expecting? We were expecting April has 30 days, January has 30, and December has 28. So we have got the expected output. April has 30, January has 30 days, December has 28 days. Shall I continue with the next part?
Yes, sir.
So what I'll do, I'll close this. Is there any option that they can unmute themselves, Rahul?
No, sir.
No, sir. Only you can allow them, sir.
Well, how can
You
I
need
come
to
to
allow
know
them.
that? If someone wants to speak, then
No,
they
sir.
Sir,
can
they can raise hands, sir.
You can raise hands, then you make them
unmute. Okay, fine. So if someone other than these, if you feel like you want to speak, so please you can ask me, I'll unmute. Okay, going to next part. Similarly, it is a matrix for a multi-dimensional array. So there is one alternative way of array declaration, right? So this is one way of array declaration. So what this statement says, A1 is one-dimensional array, which can handle 3 elements at a time. So alternatively, this can also be written like this. Both are same. This square bracket we can take it here before the name of the variable. Data type square bracket indicating it is one-dimensional array. Then name of the array variable. Same. Both are same. The advantage of second method here is we extend this particular line. So when you want to declare, see, consider you want to declare 3 arrays in nums, nums2 and nums3. 3 one-dimensional arrays you are trying to declare, and this can be shortened. We can use shorthand notation for this with this particular notation. Both are same. So as you can see the difference between these two, here I am using square bracket only once. but still we are able to declare three array variables. Nums, nums2 and nums3 are the three array variables. So this declaration and this declaration both are same. Both will be declaring three one-dimensional arrays. So if you want to declare with this notation, if you want to declare 100 arrays, you have to use square bracket 100 times. But if you go for this notation, if you just include the square bracket before the names of the variables and after the data type, you can write the square bracket only once and just list the number of just names of the arrays. So that will declare the one-dimensional arrays. I hope this is clear. I'll go with the next part. So white spaces. So we'll be getting question like explain the concept of white space in Java. So white space is something like there is no specific indentation to be followed in Java. You can write in whatever way you want your program. Like this is how you can type. So class ABC, one space, int A, again one space, provided there is one space between every keyword. So then also it is the acceptable Java program. So I'll take one sample program for that, whitespace.java. So the very first program I have written here. See here, the import statements are written, the whole program is written in single line. The whole program is written in single line. I have written import statements, then class example opening bracket, main statement, then within the println, I am giving a simple statement called sample Java program. The whole program can be written in single line, or you can write 2 lines and view 10 lines. So there is no specific rules that you have to follow the same syntax for writing Java program, provided there must be one space between every statement. So you should give one space. So between these two, you should have one space. Then also our program will work. So this is what is the white space. I'll give the demonstration. We'll get the same program, same output, like what we used to get first. So I'll give it to the interpreter. Java example. Why I'm giving example here is because in the class, in the white space program, see here, the name of the class I have still given example, but name of the source file here is whitespace.java. So we need not give whitespace as name of the class here. You can give other name also. But while running, you have to give that particular name of the class which is containing main function. So example is the class which is containing main function. So you can compile with this name, but while executing, you have to give example for the interpreter. What I will do, whitespace.java after compiling. So I'll try giving that only for showing the mistakes what we do. So Java whitespace, when I give this, we'll get same error what we got here. So what it says here is main is missing. So it will give error message in the white space. It will look for the class bytecode with the main, but there is no bytecode called white space which is containing main. But actually, which is containing main, example is containing the main. So I have to change it. Example, I have to change it to example. We'll get the output called sample Java program. We'll get the output called sample Java program. Hope this is also clear. No doubts till now. Anyone has any doubts, you can ask, else I'll go for the next part. Good. So next part is something like literals. So literals is a very easy concept. Like a constant value in Java is represented by using its literal representation. So what actually a literal here is, if you are talking about integer literal, I am talking about whole number. If you are talking about floating point, then you are talking about decimal values. That is, if you want to represent an integer literal, it must be whole number. If you want to talk about the floating point literal, it must be decimal value. If you talk about Boolean literals, then it must have either one of the two values, either true or false. Then the other literal in Java is character literal. So as we know that characters are represented within single quote. So characters in Java are just, they are taken from the Unicode character set. As I said, every character in Java is represented by its Unicode representation. So exclusively for representation of characters, we use single quote. So character literals are represented by using single quotes. String literals are represented by using double quotes. So this is an example string literal called hello world. So coming to next concept, assigning values. So it's just an assignment operator. Like how we can also assign values. That means we can use expressions in Java in programs. This is expression. RHS will be evaluated and outcome of that will be stored to the LHS. It is like simple assignment operator, same as that of C and C++. So here on sample example is there, I am assigning 100 to X, Y, and Z. So all these three variables X, Y, Z are getting a value of 100. So actually we'll be discussing about classes and objects in the third module. But here it is some brief is appearing. So this is one simple class called box, which has three data members in this. The data members of this box are width, height, and depth. Now there are two steps what you have to follow to declare variables of class. That means to create objects of class. So if you remember the bridge course classes, first we will define the class, then we will declare the variables. So these are the two steps. So in the first step, what we are doing, we are declaring name of the variable, that is my box. Then for that we are allocating memory, and this is what is calling box constructor. We are allocating memory for the new object of box. So even if you are not following this part here, don't worry. In the third module, again we will be addressing in detail. Right? Destroying, how can we destroy? Like how new creates, allocates, delete is an operator which is used in Java, in OOC, in C++. But in Java, there is something called garbage collection, which will be done automatically. If you forget to deallocate memory of some of the objects, so there is something called garbage collection, which will be taking away the memory of all the objects automatically. So what actually the garbage collection here is, when no reference to an object exists, that is object is assumed it is not required at all, then the memory from that object must be taken away. So there is no explicit need to destroy objects as in C++. In C++, like if you remember the constructor and destructor concepts. So constructor will be called whenever we create the object automatically, destructor at the end of the object. But in Java, we no need to do it explicitly. There is some entity called garbage collector. Even if you forget to deallocate the memory or resources of an object, it will be automatically done by some entity called garbage collector. So this is automatic mechanism available in Java. And again, the next concept is different access specifiers. So those who have attended the OOC bridge course classes, the different access specifiers are private, public, and protected. So even if you have missed the bridge course classes, you can easily follow this. It's not a problem. In the third module, again, we'll be discussing in detail. But as it is appearing here, I have to tell there are three access specifiers in OOC what we use: private, public, and protected. So protected will be used only in case of inheritance, which we'll be discussing in third module. So private, the access specifier for the member of a class private. So what it indicates here is the private data member of a class can only be accessed by the other members of the class. It is like private property. When you make something as public, that member can be accessed by anyone outside the class. That's why we should always make main as a public. So why we give access specifier public? Because we are writing in our all the programs what we are writing public static void main. So why we have to give public here is that indicates access specifier. Main must be accessible by everyone. Why? Because whenever we execute any of the source file, Main is the first function which will begin execution. So for that, access specifier must be always public. Right? This is some program which will demonstrate the access specification. So hope this will be clear. Those who have missed bridge course classes can also concentrate. It's not a problem. I'll take one direct program access test.java. Right? So this program will demonstrate the access specification for our different access specifiers. So in this source file, this is the source file. It is since long back. Are you all following? Because I am speaking. Can you give feedback, Naveen, Rahul, and Soumya? Can you hear me? Can you hear Naveen?
Yes, sir.
You can continue, right? Because I don't know why it is getting muted again and again.
Sir, because my net is unstable, so.
Rahul, can you speak now?
Yes, sir. I can hear. Yes.
You people are following, right?
Yes, sir.
Then I'll try Soumya. I'll unmute Soumya. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
I'll take. Okay, I'll continue.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So this is the program source file which is containing two classes. So till now we are having only one class. In this source file, this is one class and this is another class. So there are two classes. The name of the first class is test and name of the other class is access test. So this is the class. Whenever you compile this program, we will get 2 bytecodes because for every class we will be having 1 bytecode. Now this class is having data members and member functions. So data members and member functions. So these three are the data members of this class. Of the class test, these are the data members A, B, and C. So default access, A will get default access that is public in Java. So B's access is public and C's access is private. That means only C is private in this class, whereas A and B are public. So we are allowed to access A and B. That means outsider can access A and B but not the C. Why? Because C is made as private. So the usage of this will be clear once I give the demonstration. And these two are the member functions of this class. Test has these three data members and these two as the member functions. So what is the first member function? Set C is the member function which will assign some value to the variable C or data member C. Get C is another member function which will simply return the value of the C. Now in the other class, this is the actual class which is containing main function. So what always whenever you execute a program, execution will start from the main function. When you start the execution from the main function, this statement, the first statement which will get executed. What is happening in this statement? We are creating a new object. Test OB is an variable name. For that variable name, we are allocating memory of what type? Of type test. Here, this is class test. We are creating object of this particular type. So after this line, what happens here is, so I'll show I have kept it ready. Rough work. So you can see this. One second. I'll try to show it parallelly. Yes. Those who are not following, please concentrate. After this line, what happens here is new test. So test OB is an object. So I'm creating OB. You can see here parallelly. Right? So what happens with this statement I'm telling you? Whenever you execute this statement, OB is an variable name which we are giving for the variable. Actually, it is capital, it must be small here. OB Then I am allocating memory for the object of type test. So what are the entities present in the test? Test has three data members. What are the three data members? A, B, and C. So these are the three variables. For understanding purpose, I have given it as variable, but it must be data member. A, B, and C. So what are the accesses? We know the accesses for those. Access for A is default, that is public. Only C is private. Only C is private, and A and B are public. That means we can directly access A and B, but not the C. Now these statements, these two statements are okay, perfectly fine. Why? Because object OB, because how do we access members of an class? We can access members of a class by using name of the object followed by the dot operator followed by the variable. What I am trying to do here is, for this OB object, I am trying to access a member, that is OB.a, and assign it a value of 10. So what happens here is, it will get a value of 10. A will get a value of 10 with this particular statement. In the next statement, what I am trying to do here is OB.b. For this OB object, for this B member, I am trying to assign a value of 20. So it will get a value of 20. Right? Now, with this, if you try to execute this, it is wrong. We cannot write OB.c equal to 100. Why? Because OB is not a public entity. It is a private entity. We are not allowed to access C directly. Why? Because access type for C is private. So that's why if you execute this statement, we will get the error message. This is not okay because it will cause the error. C is a private entity. If you want to access C, that is possible only with the help of these two functions, getC or setC. So I'll come back to this. The same I have taken copy to the Paint, the same program, for better explanation purpose. So what happens here is, I can access this C with the help of this member function, because this class has two member functions, setC and getC are the two member functions. So now what I am doing with this statement here is, I am trying to explain this statement. So what is happening here is, onto the OB object, I am invoking method called setC. So now I am trying to assign some value to this. I cannot directly assign to this, like how we assign for A and B. If you want to assign some value to this C, you should make use of the member function. So what are the member functions of our classes here? Member functions are setC and getC. So I'll explain what this statement causes. Onto the OB object, I am invoking setC function by passing 100 as a parameter. So this will call to this, that is setC will get called, and the value of I will get a value of 100 because we are passing 100 as a parameter. I will get a value of 100. Then that 100 is being assigned to C. So we can assign a private member. We can assign some value to the private member C only with the help of the member function. The member functions are allowed to access private data. So what value C will get now? C will get a value of 100. So what value C will get? C will get a value of 100. So we have assigned a value of C 100. Why? Because it has been accessed with the help of member function. So that is the reason why we keep data as private. Then I'll try to explain the next statement. So this print statement, so what it will do here is, A, B, and C are, this will be printed as it is. So what it will print? The value of A. Then what it will print? The value of B. Then this is where I have to access what? The value of C I have to access. Because C is what? C is a private data member. We cannot directly write like this. So when you write ob.a, it will print a 10 because value of A is 10. When you write ob.b, it will print easily what? 20. So your value of A is 10 and B is 20, value of C is 100. So A, when you write ob dot a will be able to print what? 10. When you write ob dot b, will be able to print 20. But directly we cannot write ob dot c. Why? Because c is a private data member. Private data member can only be accessed with the help of member function. So we are calling getC member function to be able to display the value of the C. So when you execute this statement, what happens here is onto OB object, we are invoking the member function called getC. So it will cause this function to be executed, this member function to be executed. So what happens here is it is simply returning what? The value of C. So what is the outcome of this member function? This member function is simply returning the value present in C. Return C. So what is the value present in C here? C is having a value of 100. C is having a value of 100. So it is returning what? 100 at this place. So what is the return value that we are getting? We are getting a return value of 100. So at this place, what will get printed? At this place, something called 100 will get printed. So what is the total outcome of this entire program whenever you run? A, B and C are 10, 20 and then 100. So this is what is the output. So basically what I wanted to explain with this series, private data members cannot be directly accessed. Only we can access public data members directly because this is true. I use different ink. So this is possible. Why? Because they are public members, we can directly access them. But this is not possible. Why? Because C is a, this is not possible. Why? Because C is a private data member. If you want to access private data member, you should take help of member function, that is set C and get C. I'll minimize this and I'll try to show the demonstration of this program. So what is the expected output? A, B, C are, this is as I explained just now, A, comma B, comma C will get output as 10, 20, 100. So what I'll do, I'll use of Java C compiler. The name of the source file is acc access test.java. Now when I compile this program, I'll get two bytecodes. One with the name test.class, another one with the name access test.class. But while executing, we have to give name of the source file which is containing main function, name of the class which is containing main function. Here there are two classes. One is test, another one is access test. Among these two, access test is containing main function. So for interpreter, you have to give this particular class, not this one. First, I will show by giving this name. So when I give test, I'm giving name of this bytecode, which is not containing name. So when you give this, you will get error. See here, you can see the error clearly. It is showing what it shows. There is no such method name. So it is looking for the main, but main is not present. Bytecode is available. Bytecode is there with the name test, but main function is not available there. So where main is available in access test. So that's why you should give that name for the interpreter. So Java access test, right? So when I give this, we'll get the expected output. What is the expected output? A comma B comma C and A comma B comma and C is equal to 10, 20 and 100. So this is what is the expected output and we have got the output. The main intention of this one was to make sure that private members are not accessed directly. They must be accessed by the member function set C and get C. Any possible doubts at this point of time? If you have any doubts, please ask for the doubts so that I can clarify. No issues? At least no doubts? Can you hear all of you? Naveen, Rahul?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think you are following, right?
Yes.
From Naveen, no, means there are no doubts. What about others? Participants. Others are also following. There are no doubts from others also. One second. This is what your participants, right? One second, I am taking it for my purpose because once we log out, I should type new document inside it. And save as JPG. Share it to my desktop. Now we don't have time. I just wanted to take the list of participants those who have participated. Okay, when there are no doubts, shall we conclude the session? This is what I wanted to explain today because next bit is something like this is over. We will be starting with the operators and expressions in the next class. So I will be coming to this syllabus. So what we have covered in today's class is this one. Only variables, I think variables is same as that of the C and C++. So I will highlight this. It is like completed one. So when we have completed this, what is the date today? 31/3/2020. What I will do here is I will highlight it. It seems like we have completed with this part. I will save the file for better usage the next time. Well, operators and expressions is the next part. So when you see the syllabus, we have operators and expressions, then control statements. So operators I will be covering in the next session. Right. So if there are no doubts, shall we conclude today's class? Naveen, Rahul, and
Yes, sir.
Soumya.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What about others? Please give your opinion in the chat. No doubts for you. Okay, because only this much what I had prepared. Like I think it will not last more than 45 minutes, right? 45 minutes or 40 minutes session.
40 minutes.
Okay. So I'll conclude the session. In the group, you can share your experiences.
Yes, sir.
One second. So, I want to take this as also a screen before everyone else responds. Okay. All right. I will do. Thank you all for listening. Bye. So I'll be terminating the meeting. Next session will be intimated to you.
Yes, sir.